streaming. Then we're gonna go here and do streaming now. YouTube.com/official. Done. Now we're here. And let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. I think I got it to work. Okay, this is gonna be fun. Wait, headphones? We gotta put the headphones on. I've been playing around with OBS to figure out how to do stuff like this. So next I'm also gonna have people join me on these streams so we can have a chat. Thank you, Sam. Okay. So this is, we're going to give people a second to get in here. Sebastian, aw, you are so nice. Thank you so much, Sebastian. That's really cool of you. It's really appreciated. And thank you, Cody. So this is really going to be, I think, a fun way to hang out. Damn. Frank, don't spoil it, Frank. So this is, I think, going to be something I could really get into, like, as the audience side as well, which is, you know, me sitting here. Thanks, Charlie. A bunch of us just hanging out, watching Donahue, Rand on Donahue. If you haven't seen this before, it's a real treat. It includes what I consider, though Rand would not consider herself a libertarian, the best moment in libertarian history. It's a fun way, I think, to spend a Saturday night while we're all sequestered. I'm going to be stopping and, you know, answering questions, and I'm commenting on what I see. It's going to be a little annoying, or maybe not. Maybe that's your thing. But I feel it's going to give the sensation that we're all hanging out together, and I think that'll really help with this kind of some of the horrors of, you know, kind of being isolated and being by yourself. Tim Pool just mentioned you on a small segment in North Korea. Would you consider going on a show if anything new happens? Yeah, I'll go on his show in a heartbeat. I was supposed to be in Philadelphia to visit him to do his show, like in March, I believe, when this fall apart. Me and Tim are pals, so of course. Greetings, Michael. Thanks for the North Korean commentary. I think it's very clear that this is something that means a great deal to me, and for many reasons, personal and from my history, and also having been there. So I'm glad to do it, even though it does get extremely annoying very quickly. Lestat looks good for his age there. That's right, baby. The enemy Lestat. Cool kid Saturday night. Isn't this a fun idea? I think this is such a fun... Like, you know what it is? It's like when I was talking about a good hobby or activity to do, with friends, is go to like a fragrance store and smell all the different fragrances, right? And that's the kind of thing where I could imagine, we could all imagine people being like, oh my God, that's so lame. But when I've made that suggestion, literally no one, not once, has had that reaction. No one is too cool for school. They're all like, oh yeah, that does sound like kind of fun. And it is. So this is the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, we'll hang out, watch this documentary. Okay, let me hold up on these. Okay, watch out. Guys, you guys are paying... the 1G baby. I don't know what that means, but thank you, 1G baby. Evan, was my first intro to Rand thanks to you. Oh, that's a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. She has all the questions but not all the answers. And we have Zach here. This production was brought to you by Zach and his big brain. It's huge. Zach, this was Zach's idea. So Zach, give him credit. This was Zach's idea. Thoughts on Anthony Fisher's hatred of Dave Rubin? I have not talked to Anthony about this. I've interviewed Dave for my show. It comes out Tuesday. We did the interview yesterday. I asked him about the criticism he gets. I gave him some fairly tough questions, which he answered at length and far more nuanced than I think more people would expect. I would doubt highly that Anthony hates him, although I can't speak on that. And I don't. I guess that's all I have to say. I think if you're addressing the criticism that Anthony had of him, I did not read the article. I'm sorry, but my understanding is it is the question that I did ask him on the show that he addressed at length. Because it's a fair common knock on him on Dave Rubin. So now that Kim is dead, oh my God. Okay, we're not doing this, Greg. You're not doing this, Greg. You're not doing this, Greg. How does anarchism prevent capitalists from reforming states to recreate crony capitalism, especially to control NPCs? I don't know that there is a failsafe necessarily there. This be really just a real troll, just me answering questions like, oh, out of time, sorry, bye, ran next week. I think at a certain point, it would have to be, if you have decentralized power and one gang, basically tries to dominate the market, that's going to be an issue with the other gangs. Second, the issue is I don't think any markets have the tendency towards centralization is often a myth. Look at music, you can look at movies, YouTube, many politics, political parties. You look at Europe. Most of these countries have gone from 2 to like 11. It's just really crazy. So that's what would make it kind of difficult to do. NPCs are going to be controlled by any culture because they don't want to be free. Thanks, Greg. Thank you, Eric. Okay, is this everything? Okay. Hey, Mike, thanks for streams. I are welcome. Thanks, you big Mo. Okay. Hey, I gotta talk to you later about something, and this is me just holding myself to getting to it later. Oh, okay, Sebastian. I don't see how that would help you to anything, but okay. Did you find Weinstein's The Portal podcast with O'Keefe from Project Veritas tedious as fuck? Eric is purposely vague. I do not watch podcasts like ever. So I have not seen that. I haven't seen that. So I can't speak on that. I'm sorry. I am not, just my personality. I'm not the kind of person, and this is why I resented school to some extent, was to sit and just listen to somebody. It's not my thing. I want to be part of that conversation, especially if it's something where I have a lot of history and information about. Like that would be any way to get Dave Smith on Rubin Report. Yes, there's a way. Okay, we got 400 people here. All right. I am going to roll the tape. So this is in Madison. Okay, great. This is so stupid. Yeah, anarchist. Yeah, I just have to block you. I love the premise that I, as an anarchist, think human beings, and given my work, my 2 books, that I think human beings are essentially kind and nice. Like when people come at me about anarchism, like that's the one where I'm just like, there's no point in me having a further interaction with you of any kind. When people are like, you're too much of a utopian. You think that, people are nice and would be not evil to each other. Okay, that is what I think. Sure. What do you think of Yaron Brook's criticism of anarchy, that it leads to gangsterism and we need police? I think, I can't speak to Yaron Brook. I haven't seen his full criticism. I think Rand arguments against anarchism are fallacious. I think any anarchist reading that would know the answer, which is the difference between gangster and the police is a uniform, quite literally. Because if you look at I grew up in a mafia neighborhood, Bensonhurst, old school Bensonhurst. It was very, very safe. So in certain, and much safer than the cops would have kept it in early 80s New York. So it's and Rand's big argument, this is amazing to me, where she goes, let's suppose you're part of one defense agency and I'm part of another, and someone shoots someone and you knock at my door. Like, what happens next? Your guess is good as mine. It's like, what? And the answer is, if I, as an American, shoot a Canadian in Mexico, what happens? I have no idea. You have no idea. But you know what we do know? It's been worked out ahead of time. So we don't have to know. Because it's not our business. Like this democracy thing that everything has to be everyone's business. No. The people who are making the rules figure it out ahead of time. and they have it figured out, so you don't have to worry about it. So you can live your life and achieve your values. They would have no choice but to shoot each other. Yeah, like gangsters. I love also the idea that like literal gangsters, like if two gangs, right, show up and someone's been rubbed out, that inevitably they start shooting each other as opposed to having some kind of sit down. It's so weird. And I think when you have rhetorical questions, that is a very weak intellectual technique, because it's signaling that, well, I can't think of something and you can't, therefore no one can. And that's false. That's absolutely false. And that's a very, very stupid way of looking at issues in general. I'm not saying she is in this instance, but yeah. Okay. Let's get ready. Is that all the? Let me pour myself some Kool-Aid. Why didn't you read me serious question? Just stop. Enough of this. Enough of this nonsense. Enough of this nonsense. I've been a bit. I've been a bit triggered with the North Korea stuff. Especially, what I'm most triggered about, in all seriousness, is when people expect me to like be their personal tutor. It's like, if you're not putting in 30 seconds of effort, I can't. I think it's really gross for you to expect me to sit you down, especially if I've never interacted with you before. Why is the burden of proof on anarchists rather than statists? Because I think that's fair. If you are trying to change from the status quo, Chesterton's adage that before you tear down a fence, make sure you know why it's been built first. Things are generally more good than bad. We're all alive, right? So if you're gonna change this so radically, you really better have a damn good reason. So I think that's a fair criticism. Okay, just finished, dear reader. Oh, you got to go to the end. You're gonna start crying. And finished the new write 2 weeks ago. Thanks for the great work and the red pills. Thank you, Tyler. That is very, very kind of you. What is your opinion on UBI? I am against any form of government anything, but I haven't looked into it too much. It does not seem to me, just at a very visceral response, to be financially feasible, and I think it would be enormously difficult to have UBI with even quasi democracy and quasi open borders. I think that's just would be a huge a magnet. I don't understand. But then I'm saying that quite literally. I don't understand. I'm sure they have arguments, responses against that. They just don't, like at visceral level, they just seem very not cogent to me. What are the chances you could have McAfee on your welcome? He can come on whenever he wants. I'm not doing these remote shows. I don't like them, but he could come on. Of course, I'd have him on in a second. I'd have him on easily. It would be such a great. He's the libertarian Tiger King. I mean, he's the libertarian Joe Exotic. It's as simple as that. Oh my god. Oh, well, I guess Joe Exotic's a libertarian. Technically, he ran for government, but yeah. Okay. Do you ever write short stories or fiction? Yes, I have. I'm gonna write a series of novels one day. I'm not joking. Short stories, no. Do you have any tips for aspiring writers? Yes, a lot. Write it all in one bundle, and then go back and edit. Number one. Number two is set yourself a certain amount to write at a time. I do 3 pages. When you're done, abort, and you can't get up until you're done. So that way you don't have writer's block because you always have something left in the can. Okay. I'm going to tweet that out about McAfee. Okay, done. Okay, we got this. We got this. Okay. You should try RTX voice to improve audio quality. Actually, what I really want to do is what they did with Thatcher and sit her down and gave her those voice deepening lessons. And I sent out a tweet about that to find a coach who could do that, and no one got back to me. So that's something I definitely want to do that. Oh, I have a fancy, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's 15 minutes in. We're going to watch this Donahue. Okay? We're cool? Act cool, be cool, be cool. Act cool. Okay. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, so let me see if you guys can hear it as well. Okay. Let me see. It's not letting no sound. Okay. Let me figure this out. We can figure out in OBS. It's cool, guys. It's so cool. Browser. Let me see. Guys, I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure this out. Relax. Add audio output capture, right? Okay, let's try audio input capture. Add audio input capture. I'm going to look at properties. Let me see. Do any of you guys know how to do this? So I just added the. Hold on, wait. Okay, I just added. Guys, it's okay. Output capture. Okay. I'm gonna try, but here's how it works. I just added it as browser. So it's coming from the browser. This is OBS. Okay? I have my video capture device. Those are the only two things. Okay? Let me delete this. Remove that. Yes. And remove this. Okay. So there's a mixer. Let me look at the mixer. Maybe the audio is too low. Video capture device. I might start playing it just to see. No, that's something else. Okay. There's going to be a way to do it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Can't have proper audio without the state. Wait, should I just play this? Love your work. Look, hold on, guys. Hold on a second. I'm not answering questions right now. Hold on. Let me see. I'm going to play it and see what's moving in the mixer, okay? We're going to watch it from the beginning. It's going to be okay. Don't wig out on me. Don't wig out on me, people. It's going to be okay. Properties. Okay. If I have to download it and play it, that's fine too. We'll figure it out. This is the fun part of the show. Interact. I'm going to hit play. So when I was just playing it, and the numbers the bars were bouncing up and down. So that is interesting. Let's try bouncing that up. We might have to just up the volume. It could be as simple as that. I'm going to play it again. I'm going to try it right now. Okay, so it's interesting if it's picking up a little, because I have it all the way to the right for the volume for these for the audio, so that can't be it. Let me see what else it could be. Man, this is interesting and annoying. That's very counterintuitive that it would just play the video but not the audio. Let me try playing it through the speakers, and you tell me if you can hear it. Let me try lowering the mic. Okay, I'm going to try lowering the mic. Let's see what happens if I play through the speakers, okay? You tell me if you guys can hear it.
that you're offering to us, and that it sounds wonderful as you
Is these decent quality?
In some university, but it doesn't work out on the street.
Quite the opposite. It's in the universities that it doesn't work.
Okay, so we'll do it that way. So that's perfectly fine. It'll just be a little... let me go back and read those... I don't want to be too loud because of my neighbors, but I'm going to go back and watch it from the beginning, and let me just read whatever comments were in the interim, and then we're good. I don't know how much louder I can really make it. What if I had the mic by this? I can move the speakers closer to the mic. That's what I could do. That's what I'll do. That'll be much easier. Let me try it again. Tell me if this is better, okay?
Because all the leftist ideas and all the misrepresentation of capitalism come from leftist liberal professors. The universities are the real villains in the picture.
Okay, all right. You want...
But I must make one slight postscript. I don't give it.
Okay, so I'm going to watch it from the beginning. Let me just catch up on whatever chats I missed. And then we're going to watch it from the beginning. Okay, and we figured out for next time. So it's good. This is fine. Love your work. Looking forward to future books. Hope that quarantine opens people's eyes to homeschooling benefits over status propaganda facilities. It's not going to open their eyes. It's incumbent on all of us to point this out, because people are very bad at making connections. What do you think about the criticism of Rand about her comments of Native Americans? In my opinion, people are willingly misunderstanding. I think you're absolutely right. Whenever you're involved in identity politics, your first perspective is, how can I construe this to be racist? Did you check the flux capacitor? I have not, although he was my childhood idol. I think I hear clapping. Well, hi, I'm still spurging. How much would it take to submit to Bronze Age Pervert and read Bronze Age Mindset? I'll read it for $250. It's going to take a lot of time. Not that I have anything against him. I just have 40 books on my shelf. If you just play it silently, we could each pull up our own and sync the time. No, because I want to keep pausing it, Cody, and commenting on it. Okay. Why does Rand look like Dan Feinstein? I guess all Jewish women all look the same. I love you more, Amber. Amber Humbug. Okay, we're caught up. And now we're going to watch it from the beginning. Perfect. This is great. Thank you, Peter. Libertarians downplay the importance of culture, yes or no? I don't say downplay. I would say they don't really have a good understanding of it. Regarding the cathedral as the most Randa certainly, she's not a libertarian, but she didn't, regarding the cathedral as the most life-changing experience, if I ever see for you, that changed today with the existence of butter garlic Ritz. Oh, they're so good. They're so good. Much better than the bacon one, which is surprising. Okay, you ready? We're watching 666. All right. Let's do this. So this takes place in Madison Square Garden, and I'm fairly sure this is the same room where I won the spelling bee for Brooklyn in 1986, I think it was. Here we go.
I am very pleased to present a...
Oh shit, there's echo. What do I do? If there's echo, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna take out the mic then. And we'll do the computer audio. I don't need a nice mic for this. Let's try this. Let's see if is there an echo now? I took out one mic. Is it fine now? Okay. Literally all of you are talking at once, and this is of no use. This is why I only look at the super chats usually. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no, yes. No Good. I'm playing it now. We don't need this microphone. I don't need a fucking fancy mic for this. What the fuck am I doing anyway? Okay. I'm sure this is enough audio quality with my annoying voice. Good. Thank you, Frank. Okay. Let's watch this.
A woman, there have been a number of people who've said, I know many of you have heard this line.
Thank you, Jason.
Atlas Shrugged changed my life. The Fountainhead changed my life. Here's a woman who's read by millions around the world. She may be our most debated philosopher. She identifies that to which she adheres as objectivism. We'll talk about it. We care very much about your sharing with us your feelings about this most interesting lady, a warm human being who has a lot to say and comes straight at everything she said.
Whoa, okay, I'm sorry, we gotta talk about this. That tie with the button-down shirt, what is that look that he's doing? And that suit? Your voice is soothing to my ears. Thank you, Eddie. I mean, like, what is going... I need to go to my right. This is, I'm not about it. I'm gonna let's see if I do this. Did that change? I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. Sorry, guys. Do you consider Christopher Hitchens a great thinker, author? Very, very good. Great, I think, of like For the Ages. I can't speak on that, but very, very, very good. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
I am pleased to present Ayn Rand. Miss Rand.
So she is at this point 74. She was born 1905, so this is 1979, so she's about 74. Her husband's going to die in the next year. Spoiler alert. Phil looks like Bill Clinton. Yeah, this is towards the end of her life. She died in 82, so this is within 3 years at the end of her life. That big black bow, I don't know about it, but whatever, Miss Rand.
Sure.
And Ayn Rand is here, and it's about time we said hello after hearing so much about you, and you're not really altogether that available to the media. I know you do a radio show, and there have been other occasions, but let's see what I can do here now, trying to help the world understand. Those who may not be as familiar with your work, you don't go for altruism and...
Wait, hold on. Before I continue, I'm going to be doing this a lot. I guess I'll look at the... How many of you have seen this before? I really hope you have, or haven't, because it's really fun. And I'm going to try to interrupt only when necessary. By the way, the thing that really surprises people about Rand is that... why did I bother asking? There's 700 people in here. Yes, no, okay. Get ready. If you've only read Rand, the first time I've seen this, her accent is so thick, you're like, what is this chicanery? It's so crazy. So, okay. Here we go.
Charity and do good and liberal and...
Yes. And conservative.
Okay, so that I think is very important. So you see this a lot on Twitter. Have just seen many clips, yeah. You see this a lot on Twitter. I just hit some girl hard. Will you be leaving this stream up? Probably, yes. Definitely be my locals, malice.locals.com. You see this a lot where conservatives are like, oh, you know, Rand's a strong conservative, or like she's basically conservative. I love the idea that like Mitt Romney is not a real Republican, but Ayn Rand is. Like they will tell you this with a straight face because their definition of a real Republican is a Republican I like. Well, she throw a quick poll on Twitter, see who's watched. Oh no, I don't really care that much. She, I mean, I don't think there's anything else I need to say, but notice how quickly, when he's rattling off things that she's against, she makes it a point, like, don't you forget conservatives, that I'm against them. So that's really interesting, that for those who say that she's one of their own, the first thing out of her mouth, don't forget I hate conservatives. And by the way, this is 1979. This isn't, they're not, the conservatives of that day aren't totally different from the conservatives today in many ways.
You might as well edit all.
You don't like the conservatives either?
No.
Well,
Not today's conservatives.
All right. I want to help people. I want to do good for other people. What's so bad about that?
Nothing.
So another point to make here, Rand had lung surgery and they removed a lobe of one of her lungs earlier, not earlier that day, of course. So if you watch it, you can see she's breathing heavily throughout because her lung capacity was diminished, and this would contribute toward her death a few years after this.
If you do it by your own choice, and if it's not your primary aim in life, and if you don't regard it as a moral virtue.
See, this is what I really disagree with her recently, and this is why I know the objectivists are going to start screeching, and I'm not interested in hearing it because I know the speeches. She gave the speeches better than you guys. They're about 10 kilometers back further than the conservatives back then. Yeah, from the progressives, you mean? When she says, I agree with most of it, but when she says, but you don't regard it as a moral virtue. Now, they get into these mental gymnastics and say, well, when you're helping people, it's really selfish because you are fighting for your values, and that's true. And it's selfish because you're trying to make yourself into the kind of person you want to be. That's also true. But I disagree, and I talked about this with Dave Smith, that, for example, me, Tom Woods, and Dave, and a couple of others did a Quiplash a few weeks ago. We played a game online through Zoom and had people come and watch and comment. And we raised, I think, $6,000 for Meals on Wheels in New York to get food into the mouths of people who can't otherwise feed themselves. Right? Now, it's not our primary goal in life. It was our choice. But I do think it's virtuous that we sat down, and because of our actions, we got people fed. Doesn't mean I'm an angel. Doesn't mean I'm a saint. Doesn't mean we have statues built to us. I'm just saying, and I agree with her if it's your moral point in life, if it's your primary goal in life, or if like all you talk about is, oh, I love helping people, I'm so great. But if you do a good thing and you help people genuinely, with non-sacrificial, and it's not your primary goal in life, I think it is a moral virtue. And she's explicitly saying it's not, and I think I disagree with her. And she contradicts herself a second later. And I'll point that out to you, or I perceive her as contradicting. I'm sure she'll. Can we still do the statue? No? Yeah, sure, absolutely, Charlie. But make sure it's my size, so 4 foot H.
Those conditions, it's fine to help people if you want to.
Why isn't?
But see, that's the other thing. When she says it's fine, I like, again, she's just like the her opponents conflate charity and self-sacrifice, meaning that if you're advocating charity, you're advocating self-destruction. She's like, well, it's fine. It's not fine. When, like, I have a friend, Eliza. I'll give you her name, Eliza Orleans. And she says, Eliza's Twitter, I'll tell this to her face, is a dumpster fire. Dumpster fire. Eliza works for the city, I forgot, Legal Aid. And her job, which she gets paid much less than she could if she got a full, was a corporate law, is helping people who are destitute, who have been enmeshed with the state, got arrested, to get legal representation. In my view, and part of it is that, somewhat of this is sacrifice, frankly. She's losing money. I think she's a hero. I admire her enormously. I tell her this all the time. I say this publicly. So it's really, to me, not coherent what she is saying. She said it's fine. It's not more than fine. It's commendable. It's commendable to me if someone, helps their neighbor build their house after it was burnt down. That is so it's just and it's commendable to me when you help someone who's deserving of help, and you can do the mental gymnastics, say I'm really doing this for myself, but at that point the term selfishness has no meaning.
Why can't I think of it as a moral virtue? I mean, can't I take some vows for myself for doing all these good things?
Because that would be cannibalism. Because that would mean that you preach altruism.
So he just asked her, why can't I take vows for myself? Because that would be cannibalism, because that means you preach altruism. I disagree that someone who says it's a good thing I did this charity is preaching anything. Not the personal is not always the political, and just because you did a good thing does not mean it has to have some profound philosophical insight or that this is you're advocating for other people. Like if I said, hey, it's a good thing I built this clock, you should build clocks, that's not true.
Which means not merely kindness, but self-sacrifice. It means that you place the welfare of others above your own, that you live for others.
Okay. I do not agree that someone who does charitable things lives for others. I don't.
For the sake of helping them, and that justifies your life. That's immoral.
Wait. So he just asked her, why can't I take vows? And she says, well, because then you're justifying your life for other people, and that's immoral. I agree, if you're justifying your life for other people, it's immoral. He's not saying I'm justifying my life because I did a nice thing.
According to my morality.
I don't understand why you have to be so harsh in your definition.
I sent you a DM explaining the benefits legal aid attorneys in New York get. It's a great job, but they're well taken care of. I hear you, but she could get a lot more money. I promise you. That's not even a question. Another thing, Jan, she's dealing with the worst people. So even if she's getting the same money, she still would be dealing with a lot easier clients than the dregs.
Your evaluation of those.
And I don't really check my DMs. I'm sorry.
Why call it immoral? Why don't you just say, why don't you say it's a waste of time? Why pass
And this is one of her best quotes right here.
Because look at the state of the world today.
Yeah.
And you cannot be harsh enough on those who created it. And those who created it are the philosophers of altruism. It's those who preach self-sacrifice, selflessness, self-abnegation, all the anti-self theories, which means anti-man. All those who demand man's sacrifice, they have succeeded, and look at the results in the world.
Now she's great. I mean, I'll build her a statue for that. It's like if you're sitting here and saying, when you're preaching, you don't matter, and that you need to live for other people, and that leads to all the nightmares on earth, I think she's spot on. I do think it is a huge leap to say, I did this charitable thing, therefore I'm preaching everyone has to live by this, therefore I'm saying this is my justification for life.
That's a theory or a way of life or a philosophic idea which is advanced by religions, that we should sacrifice for others.
That's right.
All right, I want to make sure I understand you, Miss Rand. Why is it so... I'm still not quite sure why you're so...
Well, I'll even put it this way. Part of the reason I'm doing this stream is because I realized there are a lot of people who are socially isolated. We all are, but some are more than others. And I thought this would be a fun way to hang out and watch a show and be entertaining or be entertained and learn something and talk. And I think this is a good thing. I'm getting money, but I'm also providing a service. And so should I not take kudos for this? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
So harsh on those who would sacrifice for other people?
Because I look at them. Just look at them. Because they don't hesitate to sacrifice whole nations.
So that is my quote of hers I use a lot on Twitter. When people are like, oh, the corporate press, they're not that bad, they're just dumb. That couplet where he's like, why are you so hard on these people? And she goes, because I look at them. They don't hesitate to sacrifice whole nations. And let's talk about that in contemporary terms. Like everyone who was advocating for Venezuela, an entire country destroyed right before our eyes in our lifetimes, just devastated. People protesting early on, The goons just shooting up crowds. None of those people have been run out of town on a rail. It is okay. This guy's it's none of these people are don't dare pay tax on this. I promise I won't, Anders. None of these people have read out of town on a rail. None of these none of these people are regarded as pariah. None of these people are like you're a monster. Look what you advocated. Look what you've done. And so that is her at her best when she's like, you can't condemn them enough. It's not like, oh, I want people starving and they can't leave and all their money confiscated. Well, that's just my opinion, man. She's like, no. You cannot condemn them enough.
Look at Russia. Communism is based on altruism. Look at Nazi Germany. The Nazis were more explicit than even the Russians in preaching self-sacrifice and altruism, and self-sacrifice for the state, for the folk, the people. Every dictatorship is based on altruism. Now you can't fight it by merely saying it's a difference of opinion. It's a difference of life and death.
So your view is then, if we all became more comfortable with our natural tendencies, that is to say, selfishness, there would be less horror, less war, less Hitler?
There wouldn't be any.
So the more selfish we are, the more kind, the more tranquil and peaceful the world in which we live?
And more benevolent toward other people.
No, this is where they're kind of talking past each other, because I think she's right, because she's saying if you become self-actualized and you value yourself as a person, you're going to value other people and you are going to be kinder. And it's psychologically true. If you're happy in your own skin, it's not a coincidence. There's a huge correlation. We see it online all the time that people who are miserable are toxic, and they are, they spew out their venom on social media constantly. And yeah, this is me talking. And this is why I always say block heavily, because this is not about you. This is how it works. And it's like, why would you want that Brer Rabbit tar baby stuck to you? Get it away from you. It's not going to make your exchange any better dealing with this person.
If we're rationally selfish, by that I mean a selfishness which can justify
Thank you so much, Greg.
every action rationally, not the kind of whim worship, as I call it, which consists of just indulging your own desires and urges of the moment, and there is no innate natural idea.
She is rightly fearing an altruistic state, but she's going too far for the individual. I don't think she's going too far for the individual. I think I don't think that's true at all. I think the individual is by far the most important thing. The one thing you should dress as Rand next time you're in Reuben. I got a plan for Reuben. That's not going to happen. But yeah, I don't think she's going too far at all. But her point, which she makes throughout her writing, which I agree completely, is that the individual is a source of all values. Like they have to mean something to you. It's not some external thing. And this is one of, they talk about anarchists not understanding human nature. When you tell people they have to work hard for the sake of the people, that's something that doesn't make any sense. It's very hard to motivate that way.
No.
There isn't, huh?
No.
Well, I have a lot of innate tendencies.
You think they're innate?
Okay, so this is her, I think also at her worst. There's the book, The Blank Slate, debunks this. To claim that we don't have any innate tendencies or any kind of things like this is really not something most people still hold. I don't mean like the interrelationship between like hormones and the brain, things like that, things like diet and your worldview. If everything is a function of rationality and philosophy, how do you account for mood? Mood is your brain chemistry, and the fact that the brain has certain, the mind and the brain can affect our thinking, and it's something the Blank Slate does not really do a very good job of accommodating for. The idea that everything in our brains, it's true that everything in our mind to some extent has come from outside. It has to go through a process to be kind of integrated with our thinking, but there's a lot going on Why is it that when we're about to fall asleep, when we have insomnia, we start to fixate on why did I say that? It's a very a historically outdated perspective on how the mind works. Okay, dress as Yaron Brook, whatever. I've got an outfit planned. I told you. I know what I'm doing.
You know what I would say? Check your premises.
Check my premises?
Yeah, check the basic ideas behind any feelings that you might feel at the moment, and you'll see that your feeling comes from your premises.
See, that is to some extent true, right? Like if you think about why you're feeling this way, you're going to have a reason for it. And a lot of times it could be, oh, I'm feeling this way because when I was a kid, I felt this way, blah, 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 blah. So there's some truth to that. But Rand also said that she has the same worldview as she did when she was in the crib, as long as I can remember. So at the very least, she's not going to be able to have any kind of empathy for people who did not have the same worldview their entire lives.
Good or bad, but they held subconsciously, they will direct your feelings, and you will think it's innate,
Right.
but it isn't.
How do you avoid? Let's take your thesis then and accept it now. I'm going to be selfish.
Thank you,
You know
Matthew.
what I'm going to do? I'm going to be real talented and charismatic, and I'm going to develop a lot of wealth, and I'm going to have a lot of money and a lot of banks, and pretty soon nobody's going to be able to compete with me because I've already purchased all my competitors.
So this version of selfishness is one of the villains of the Fountainhead. And what she set out to do in the Fountainhead, I think very successfully, is take how that version of selfishness is really not true selfishness and is really evil and despicable. So she goes after that personality type in the character of Peter Keating very heavily.
And now I have dictatorial power over people, and I can name the price of bacon or price of oil or whatever it is, the commodity I'm selling.
You know, I agree with you that you're very talented and you could accomplish a great deal and already have, but you're talking about the impossible. In a free society, nobody can become a monopolist or a dictator. The system itself, the free market, will destroy you.
How do you explain Mobil Oil? Exxon? How do you explain the prices that they're able to charge?
He just described Oprah.
I think that they're stupid appeasers who get too little and put up with too much.
Who?
So this is Rand. I didn't put two and two together because I haven't seen this in quite a bit. This is Rand at her most Trump. Because this is what Trump does very well, and she would not like this comparison, and I doubt he would either. But what he does very well is you'll have this is a very common technique. People will come at him with a question, and smuggled within this question, and I think this is probably natural for a lot of people, is a lot of like hidden premises. And rather than accept that premise and say, oh, your premise is wrong, he just basically says, fuck you, and just says whatever he wants, right? So a good example is when they're arguing with him, he goes, oh, the wall just got 10 feet taller. So, and he's like, the oil companies, they're really out of control. And someone who's trying to be persuasive normally does she get upset with the audience in this one? She gets upset with the audience in everyone, but yes, this is the one. You would be like, yeah, I get what you're saying about the oil companies, but you have to understand in a free market. And she's like, oh, no. We're not playing your game. So let me rewind that a little bit because it's really funny.
In a free society, nobody can become a monopolist or a dictator. The system itself, the free market, will destroy you.
How do you explain Mobil Oil? Exxon?
Giving a friend money to help them get through a tough situation helps motivate you to earn more money and create value. Tax doesn't. Being taxed is not virtue. Helping a friend helps with self-doubt. Yeah, I agree with that completely.
How do you explain the prices that they're able to charge for?
I think that they're stupid appeasers who get too little and put up with too much.
Who? The oil companies?
Yes.
You.
Now, yes, here you have to let me explain.
Donahue example is such a bad and common example of economic misunderstanding. People often assume humans don't respond to stimuli and change. Yeah, they don't understand second-order effects at all. What do you think of Rand's perception of romantic love as a function of admiration and little else? When she was telling Nathaniel Brandon that he should love her if she's 80 in a wheelchair, and when Nathaniel Brandon had to tell Barbara Brandon to tell Rand to work on her hygiene, I think that is the answer to that question.
If President Carter's own policy admits that we need the oil company and that the lack of oil is a serious national crisis,
Right.
which might lead to the stoppage of all industry. If that is what we need, by what right can we tell those men, go ahead and produce what we want, while we're insulting you, while we're trying to control your business, and while we're not leaving you that which you produced?
I love the idea that like oil cartels are capitalism. Like, is there any more like corporate, like all the awful things that happen with corporate government in a relationship than other than like maybe the warfare state than the oil cartels? Please.
Today, it's crudely obvious.
Crudely,
If
get it,
we
pun
need
intended.
the oil companies, we have only one of two choices. Either we produce oil ourselves, and no government has ever done it or can do it, or we have to accept the oil companies' terms, pay them whatever they can get. The more they get, the more credit to them, because that means the country needs it and pays them. They produce something needed by the people. And we must say thank you instead of
Thank you.
putting or proposing to put a tax on them in order to give the money to the government who does nothing. The government doesn't contribute anything except impediments.
But if we allow the oil companies to have the power which you say has come to them because we need the oil, it's a question of supply and demand.
Yes.
So if we approach this laissez-faire, as I think you would like us to, free of government intervention,
Right.
free of all the force and the regulation and the controls which you abhor.
Right.
All right. Now we've got Mr. Gigantic Oil Baron saying $2.50 a barrel, a gallon. Now, here's what happens. The blue-collar guy who's trying to make a living and feed his kids can't buy gas for his truck, can't possibly survive in the free marketplace, and suddenly he's on welfare, and he's got to go for a handout, another feature of government that you abhor.
As soon as people recognize a monopoly buys out all competitor to keep their hold on the market, people will spin up semi-BS companies and bankrupt the monopoly. Yeah, the other thing is this is completely ahistorical. Like when you ask them, like, okay, can you name and we have monopolies. Every company is a monopoly in their own product. And look at it this way: sure, Pepsi and Coke are big soda. Do you really need to be drinking soda? Now you could say, well, you do need gasoline. Well, the only reason we still need gasoline is because the prices are reasonable. If there became a point where gasoline was like what he's saying, where everyone's homeless and broke, things would quickly change. In North Korea, is a very bad example. They had to retrofit vehicles to use wood.
You can't have it both ways.
But all this is economic fallacies. To begin with, nobody in a free society, now we're talking about a free market, in which the government doesn't interfere.
Oil cartels always remind me of Dallas and JR. Never doubt that I am magic.
Become a monopolist. All monopolies are created by a special privilege for government. It's only by an act of government that you can keep competitors out of your field. Therefore, you couldn't become that kind of monopoly. The power you hold as an industrialist is not the power to use force. It's the power of producing something of value.
That people want.
And it's the people who literally control you, because every purchase is a vote in the favor of some businessmen and in a way against others. It's the public who decides what they want to buy and what they pass up. If, using your examples, you became this powerful tycoon economically, but you can, as an industrialist, it's not the power to use force.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's the power of producement and in a way against others. It's the public who decides what they want to buy and what they pass up. If, using your examples, you became this powerful tycoon economically, but you cannot force anybody to deal with you, and you cannot force competitors out of your field, then every smaller man would be in that field because you would have established a price way above the market. You might last months, if that.
So in other words, if I tried to be Mr. Big and charge outrageously high prices for gasoline, I would go broke in your view, because in your leave them alone and let competition handle it approach to civilization, somebody with a better mousetrap, pardon my mixed metaphor.
No, that's a very good one.
All right, would come along and undercut me.
That's right.
Sell at a cheaper price.
But isn't just my view.
You know what I'll do? I'll buy him up the minute I see this bird. I'll buy him. I'll own him on Tuesday.
And where will you get your money when you're not
Already
allowed?
holding them up for $2.50 a gallon.
But they're not paying you. You say they're all going out
Well,
of
they've got to
business.
get to work. We're married to a petroleum civilization.
All right, this has been done, you know. It isn't incidentally just my view. That is history. There are people who have tried to corner the market repeatedly, and the result was that they went broke.
Let me see if I understand you now. How do you see if this has got it? You're saying, in effect, that the oil companies have this power because we gave it to them. We gave it to them with our large cars that need a lot of gasoline. We gave it to them with our wasteful practices of energy. We have such a tremendous demand and need and reliance on oil that we, in effect, have given the people who produce the oil the power.
First time, long time, whack whack, you're shadow banned. It doesn't tell me when you're live. Bradley, if you go to the locals, I always update it days ahead of time when I'm going to do these. So just go to malice.locals.com.
Over us.
No,
Tell me where that's wrong.
because the oil producers are not the only people whom we patronize, and not the only people who supply a need. Even if, which I say if, it never happens, but let's suppose one oilman cornered the market, he has competition from every other industry who produce other things which we need. Therefore, we cannot give all the power to one company, even if in a given field we patronize only that company. That company is competing with every other producer. And
that's a good point that most plebs don't understand. Like, you know that old joke about what's heavier, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers? $1 worth of Coca-Cola is $1 worth of oil and $1 worth of whatever. So you are this kind of concept they have that these industries are effectively isolated from each other is not how the economy actually works. If Rand was alive now, would she try to maintain her monopoly on her name, and Rand Paul would be facing the full fury of the state in her behalf? Rand Paul insists, and I believe him, he was not named after him. His full name is Randall. She was very big on IP. There was like a gas station of dry cleaners that wanted to call themselves like John Galt Dry Cleaners, and she like sued them. She sued or threatened to sue a book that had like her name on the back, says, oh, this author's like Ayn Rand. So she was very protective of her brand in that sense.
the moment you charge too much and somebody can give us the same product at a lower price, he'll put you out of business.
Okay. You realize, of course, that your critics suggest that you're just...
This is the best part.
This is a pie-in-the-sky, unpractical notion that you're offering to us, and that it sounds wonderful as you gather with the intellectuals in some university, but it doesn't work out.
Ready?
Quite the opposite. It's in the universities that it doesn't work, because all the leftist ideas and all the misrepresentation of capitalism come from leftist liberal professors. The universities are the real villains in the picture.
I love that quote of hers. So this is 79. She's talking about the cathedral. The universities are the real villains in the picture. The band Collective Soul took their name from the Fountainhead. True. The only natural monopoly that lasted more than 100 years is De Beers. I can't speak on that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, for her to be saying this, she had a monopoly on the Rand brand. That is true. For her to be for her to be saying this back then is really such a good quote.
All right, you want...
But I must make
Here's another great quote.
Slight postscript. I don't give a damn about my critics.
You don't?
No. Because I have not heard a good one.
You haven't heard a good one?
No.
Okay.
Someone who would be honest
Right.
and discuss the issues without misrepresentation.
Let's try and walk into some other areas here in the brief time we have. This is a little frustrating because I've got a lot of folks out here who want to question you. You do not accept the existence of a God, a divine prime mover, right?
No.
Now, the reason you don't is because you can't prove that such a entity or being or energy exists.
I can't, nor can anyone else. There is no proof.
There is no proof that there is no. So therefore, you've concluded that there isn't one.
That's right.
You can't prove there isn't.
You are never called upon to prove a negative. That's
right.
A law of logic.
All right. Why can't we have you?
I just love how that got applause in 1979. When Rand's like, law of logic here. Oh yeah, I love Aristotle's laws of logic. Fuck yeah, go get him, Rand. Love your vampire books. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry. Did Dr. Ruth steal Rand's act? Well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Have you say, Mr. Donahue, I can't prove there's a God, so I just have to take a pass on that one. No comment. I don't know. Why don't you say I don't know rather than I'm sure there isn't?
Because you can't accept, even as a hypothesis, something for which there is no evidence. I couldn't say...
I think there's circumstantial evidence.
There isn't any.
Oh, this is pretty impressive, huh?
It's magnificent.
No, I mean the universe.
Built by man.
This is Rand at her most Rand. Just total spectrum. Interesting what lines get applause. Can you imagine people cheering any of these today? Yeah, I'm with you, Nicole. I love it when he's like, isn't things wonderful? This is magnificent. It's a building built by man. Look where they are, though. It's not a particularly nice building. It's not, look at those cheap plants. It's a shitty auditorium. Oh yeah, this is magnificent. Like, we could have a school assembly here. Jesus.
First, you've got to be impressed with the universe. When you see order in the universe, this wasn't an accident, Miss Rand.
Oh, now you've got
this is another
give
great
me
quote.
a few minutes. What do you think would happen in a disorderly universe?
In a disorderly...
What's the concept of order? What does it have to do with the things which exist? If they clashed with each other, if there were contradictions, they wouldn't exist.
This is like when people say, what are the odds that we would be created here on Earth? Or just an accident, and the odds are it's 100%. Earth is only impressive because we're here. There's nothing about it that's interesting otherwise. So they have the order of logic completely backwards. So when he talks about the universe so orderly, she's like, it's orderly because order is how we understand the universe. That's what order means. It can't not make sense because sense is whatever the universe is.
There is no such thing as a disorderly universe. Our whole concept of order comes from observing reality. And reality has to be orderly because it's the standard of what exists.
Right. So
the contradictions cannot exist.
Okay, so we have an orderly universe because it's impossible to have a disorderly universe. I got that. I understood that.
Fine.
Do you understand what a breakthrough that is? That I understood that.
Oh.
All right, now, having accepted that, I still don't understand why can't you just leave the door open? Why do you have to be so unforgiving and so final and so, don't talk to me about it, you can't prove it, and anybody who goes around believing it is wasting time? Okay, we'll get out there and give you that chance in a moment.
He's quite right.
Yeah, he thinks God can be proved. But
that's right, and shouldn't be.
Okay, yes.
But the real issue here, as far as man is concerned, is that when you accept such an important issue as the creation of the universe,
yes,
on faith, you're destroying your confidence and the validity of your own mind. It has to be...
I don't think that how the universe was created is that important in terms of self-esteem and the validity of your own mind. I don't think that's something that has much relevance to most people. I think she's wrong in that one.
Either reason or faith. I am against God for the reason that I don't want to destroy reason. I don't...
Give us a chance, all right? We appreciate your zeal, but if you continue that, it's going to make it difficult for the other people to absorb what's going on here.
He says, how can I be against God? I'm against those who conceived that idea.
much.
Tell
It's
us
all
why.
twitchy.
Tell us why.
Because then it gives men permission to function irrationally, to accept something above and outside the power of their reason and superior to reason.
And what's so bad about that? Why can't I be a reasonable philosopher walking around wondering what it's all about, struggling, striving, trying to understand, enjoying the quest and the journey, and then in the last little part of my consciousness I say, I know you're there somewhere. I don't understand
Donahue
why
could
you
use
did
the
it
band
this way,
hammer,
but
yeah,
I
most certainly.
Can't wait to die and find out.
Because that,
Tell me, Lord, I'm not grandstanding. Do you understand that?
Are you?
I'm not trying to be cute now. I'm honestly trying to understand, and I know that it's easy to step on a person of your controversial view and wave a flag, and I don't want to do that.
No,
But
I know.
do you appreciate the question? Do you understand? Why are those two things not possible?
yes, you said it, I think, unintentionally. You said, so I can't wait to die and find out. That, I'm serious, is one of the results of acting on faith. You can't wait to get out of this life.
And there, what's wrong with that?
Because this life is wonderful, as you said. Because if you look at the universe, it's wonderful. And you have to use your life to the best of your understanding. If you go by emotions, not reason, it means you're going against reality. Something exists, something is right, and you say, no, I don't like
Who's
it
that chick?
because I want to believe something else.
I see.
You, in effect, go by emotions, by your whims, not by reason.
And religion or the God concept or faith or worship has people thinking of life as a veil of tears through which you
That's
will
right.
probably not get without falling. You are essentially an evil person who is bent toward.
Well, most religions do preach just that.
And you don't believe that.
God, no.
She's so proud of herself with
You
her little
think that
joke.
life should be a celebration?
Yes.
We're lucky to be here. We should be happy to be
We
here.
cannot be
Okay,
lucky
all right.
because if we weren't here, we wouldn't be.
Just be a celebration.
What is
Yes.
happening? I
We're
didn't
lucky to
skip.
be here.
I didn't touch anything.
We should be happy to
We
be here.
cannot be
Okay,
lucky
all right.
because if we weren't here, we wouldn't be. There's no such
Right.
thing
Okay. So
as-
it's not a crap game that we're
Exactly.
here. We are here, and we should celebrate it, use it, enjoy it, be selfish.
Right.
There's a virtue in selfishness,
Right.
and we got ourselves in trouble when we started using government to force us to be good because we had this notion that we had a sort of bad nature.
Right. And if we have a bad nature, we have no self-esteem. If we have no self-esteem, any demagogue can have us. He can order us about because we wouldn't consider ourselves valuable enough
Yeah.
to be free. You will be anxious to follow anyone because you don't trust yourself.
Right.
So that self-esteem is a precondition of freedom.
All right. So you're obviously against forced government anything, busing, right?
Also,
You're against taxes.
Lean
Against
in.
taxation.
that would be the last reform that I would advocate.
Phil is a close talker. I mean, it could be that she's hard. It could be really loud in that room. So Donahue is a perfect example of a common sense thinker. Total economic illiteracy, theist sympathies, and midwit repetition of talking points. I feel like he is very much trying to be, because this is 79 and you didn't have intellectuals even on her, of the Rand kind, represented really in shows like this. I think he's really coming at it from the 85 IQ perspective because that's where his audience was to get. I mean, I think he's, and I think these are the kind of questions they would ask her.
But you don't really think it's going to be possible to have a community of men without forced mandated taxes?
No, I wrote it, and I won't go into details, about an alternative, which would be voluntary taxation. Voluntary contributions to the government, because we need the
Do you know
government.
why they're going, because they don't think it won't work?
Oh, not if you had to contribute 90% or even 50% of your income. That wouldn't work. But the government doesn't cost that much. The government's proper function is only to protect your rights. And
I love the idea that like anarchism is the worst, but we should have voluntary taxation for the people who protect you. Okay.
that means to protect men from those who initiate force. So the government protects the peace, internal peace. That means the policemen, The government runs the Army and Navy, protection from outside forces, and law court, so that citizens who disagree can settle their disputes peacefully. That's the only functions of government.
All right. So you like an individual who stands up, man or woman, does what she wants to do. You have literally liberated millions of people around the world by merely saying to them in your novels,
I love this quote.
you want to do it? Do it.
That's exactly, that's true. And if I help them, I'm delighted.
So earlier in the episode he says, if I'm doing charitable work and what's wrong with taking a bow? And she's like, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, look, if I help them, I'm delighted. Now, it's not the same, of course, to produce a product that helps people as to just voluntarily help them build their house. But I don't think it's as far apart as she would like it to be. If, as a result of your actions, people who are deserving have benefited, and you don't regard this as your primary virtue, I think it is virtuous, and it's fine.
But I didn't.
Original sin sure takes a beating in your writings, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yes.
Yeah. You don't think that we're born with sin on us?
Do you? No, I have never met a person who really could believe that.
Well, but see, if you fool around with original sin, her
argument against anarchy is ridiculous. She just said the government doesn't cost so much. This is the calculation problem. We don't know how much it ought to cost. Yeah, absolutely. And it could be that, like, oh, yeah, it's, I mean, these are
the whole
fallacious.
idea of Christianity. If there is no original, wait a minute. If there's no original sin, then what do we need Calvary? Why do we need the crucifixion? From what are we redeemed?
Well, but that is the most important thing. Look at, if you take Jesus Christ as an ideal human being, and that is properly the view of Christians, what do you do with your ideal being? You put him on the cross, you torture him and murder him for the sake of those who are less virtuous. Is that a proper example to set?
So that's Rand answering my question, are some people better than others, and with a very, very big yes. So her claim is like, you don't torture the great for the sake of their inferiors, which is a very, very right-wing concept.
For the sake of those who are less virtuous.
Yeah, for the sinners, to redeem their sins, as you say. I think that's a monstrous idea. If I were a Christian, I would resent it enormously. The ideal men are to be appreciated and followed.
And listened to.
And listened to,
but
not crucified.
But our evil nature makes us rebel against those who would bring us.
Oh, that's a...
The Christian admonishment against pride is well served by her version of individualism, because supreme arrogance attempts to usurp the throne of God, but she refuses such power. Well, okay. I think it's an interesting perspective, Ryan. Thank you.
Nice excuse, you know. If you commit a murder and then say, but I am evil by nature, I couldn't help it.
The devil made me do it.
Yeah. Well, incidentally, my philosophy includes free will.
It does.
That you have the choice. Only free will consists of your capacity to think or not. Okay. If you think, you made the right choice. If you evade, that's the mortal sin according to my philosophy.
You were born in Russia, yes. Leningrad, what is now Leningrad.
Yeah.
You graduated from the University of Leningrad.
That's right.
You recently celebrated your 50th wedding anniversary to the same man.
That's right.
We're in New York City with Ayn Rand, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is the Felt Forum of the Madison Square Garden. That is Ayn Rand, the philosopher who's created such a stir everywhere with books which incidentally sell in numbers approaching 8,000 per month. Per month, even today. Yeah.
This is like how when people say, oh, she died on Social Security and welfare, it's like, no, she didn't.
Your novels, you portray very strong women. I was wondering why you think in the world we don't have strong women leaders.
Because if you're speaking about women's liberation, that whole movement, it's a very false and phony issue. Women are human beings, so they need leaders just like men in certain professions. If in their own profession they don't need leaders, but let's say in politics. They need leaders who are men or women as the leaders have earned. There is no such thing as specifically a leader of women, just as it would be ridiculous to say you have leaders of only men.
See, I think she's a little wrong here. Let me read the chat. Sorry. In reference to the Hitchens questions you got asked earlier, often wonder how much better the world might be had some like Hitchens been influenced in the beginning by Mises instead of Marx. I mean, we could play that game all day, right? Who knows? I also think a lot of the issue is technological and not just the right people having the right ideas. Would you live under narco-communism? No, I think they'd kill me pretty quick. I think she underestimates how, it's like that old adage about, like, was that a 10-minute mile? Like, everyone thought it was impossible, then someone saw it, and then within, like, a year, like, 5 people had done it. I think there's just a psychological effect to be had that if you're this or that and no one's done it before, it's kind of hard to be like, what, I'm going to be the first one? So when you see that someone else has done it, it makes it a lot easier to have that goal within reach.
Well, but the point is that women feel, because of the cultural inhibitors that have been placed on women, some sort of woman leadership is needed to compensate and to break those barriers and to make good all the grievances of the past.
You can do it only by education. If women feel that there's prejudice against them,
yes,
you do it by spreading the right idea that women intellectually are not the inferior of men.
Of course not. But
physically, they certainly
that's
are.
what feminists are doing. They're standing up and educating.
No, they're asking for government power and government handouts. They go around depriving men of jobs because you have to have quota of so many women.
But their point is that they have been denied jobs all these years. So let's get at it and start.
Okay, hold on. Guys, she's about to own Donahue, I think, harder than I've seen anyone ever owned at any show, to the point where he literally walks away shaking his head at how badly he got owned. It is so insane to watch her nuke him that it's just like, oh my god. So let's watch that. It's happening right now.
Fight an evil if they think they're victims. I don't. But let us say, assuming that women have been treated unfairly, you don't fight an evil by adopting it and practicing it.
Well, what should they do? Be nice little girls and not say anything and stay home and break bread?
Binary thinker. Either you're a world leader or you're a housewife. Like, it's those are the choices. Amazing.
Oh,
well, what should they do?
Go into any career of their choice except longshoreman or professional football player, as they're flying today, and fight for their career as every man has to fight.
Would you fight for anything?
How did I get here?
That is so amazing. I love that so much because it's such like a lefty mindset that unless you're fighting for my values, you have no values, you don't care about anything. And then just start to be like, I'm here, aren't I? And it's like, oh my god. And then for him to at least acknowledge that, like, oh my god, you just fucking clowned me so hard. Let's watch that again. I like that a lot.
Assuming that women have been treated unfairly, you don't fight an evil by adopting it and practicing
Well,
it.
what should they do? Be nice little girls and not say anything and stay home and break bread?
No.
Well, what should they do?
Go into any career of their choice except longshoreman or professional football player, as they're flying today, and fight for their career as every man has to fight.
Would you fight for anything?
How did I get here?
I'm disappointed, though, that here we have all this, you don't deny that there have been grievances. You don't deny sexism. You don't deny prejudice against women.
I deny all that except unequal wages. There have been.
You're telling me you think women have had the same opportunities, that they haven't been given blinders by a culture that said they should be a nurse instead of a doctor?
No.
That they should be long-suffering and nurturing instead of a composer?
Not in this country. If you're talking about Europe, it might be different. Here you can get anything regardless of your sex, because all you have to do is show your ability. And if someone is prejudiced and doesn't hire you, the intelligent employer will.
Oh, okay. Let me read that chat. 1 second. We're contemporaries, so we get Donahue in the sense that he was America's afternoon entree into other lifestyles, ideas, and diversions. We have 3 networks. Donahue served a purpose. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that she'd be getting on TV nowadays, or they would let her, speak her piece without caricaturing her and making her look like an asshole. This exchange is Rand going full spectrum. It is so painful to watch. And for a long time, one of the quotes from this exchange was my signature on email, where Rand declares, not kidding, "I am not the victim of hippies," referring to this woman. It is so, you'll see this. And the thing is, I'm pretty thin-skinned because I don't pull up with people's shit, because why should I? But watching her, flip out, but also her response to flipping out is so oh God, no. Please be a little bit more neurotypical. So get ready, because this is going to be tough. This is tough to watch.
The topic, and go back to something you said about industry. 15 years ago, I was impressed with your books, and I sort of felt that your philosophy was proper. Today, however, I'm more educated, and I find that if a company...
This is what I don't answer.
Well, wait a minute. You haven't heard the question yet.
She's already estimated her position and my work, incidentally, displaying the quality of her brain. If she says today she is more educated...
I am more educated now than I was 15 years ago when I was in high school, before I went to college, and
I'm not
before I read the
interested in your
newspapers.
biography.
Let her make her point. Let her make her point.
I am not interested in your biography in that context. I love that line. But this comes off so bad in my view. This does not come off, Rand comes off worse than she needs to.
Let her make her point.
It's very basic. If a company is permitted to do what it wants to do, like ITT, you wind up with ITT in Nazi Germany doing whatever it damn well please, and any other company in the United States doing the same thing. Conglomerates are not monopolies. They can do whatever they want. ITT owns everything, from baking companies to telephone.
It's funny when you watch these old videos, whatever the boogeyman company of the day was, and how they're gone now, like ITT. For a while it was Starbucks, it was The Gap, remember them? They're taking over, there's everywhere, blah, blah, blah. And then a few years later they go away. Oh, because Microsoft bundles Internet Explorer for free, that controls the path to the internet, we got to break them up, and then the market takes care of it, and then they pretend like these things were never an issue to begin with. It is a rude way to frame the question. I appreciate that Rand took exception to it. I would take sure, but you're not finished with watching what she says, because it gets really bad, and she gives away her power needlessly. Rand does, and puts herself in a silly position, I think. Watch this.
Companies to munitions plants. I mean, I really think that's wrong. And I really think that they
Miss Rand thinks it's wrong too, but she's saying that it's not government force that's going to correct the problem.
I don't think government force is going to correct the problem either, but...
She's saying that if we back away and just let this invisible hand, the work and competition and free enterprise happen according to its own inclinations, we're not going to have abuse, and abuse and evil will fall of its own weight.
I don't believe that. And government force is going
Why is it bouncing?
correct the problem either, but...
She's saying that if we back away and just let this invisible hand, the work and competition and free enterprise happen according to its own inclinations, we're not going to have abuse, and abuse and evil will fall of its own weight.
I don't believe that. I can't believe it, because money is power. And the more money you have, the more power you have.
That's true.
Can we encourage you to make a contribution to that observation?
I will not answer anyone who is impolite, but to show you...
She wasn't impolite.
I do not sanction impoliteness, and I am not the victim of hippies. But
Hippies.
that's where it started.
What?
The dropping of politeness and of manner.
You're equating someone who disagrees with you with impoliteness. That's not fair.
No, he's not right.
No.
She wasn't polite.
If you're giving if you didn't interrupt me, I would have demonstrated what I mean.
It gets worse, guys.
I will to show you that I'm not evading the question. If anyone else wants to ask the same question politely, I'll be delighted to answer.
So she wants Donahue to run around and have someone repeat somebody else's question so she could answer it by some. I don't. This is. Oh God. Hold on. Let me catch up here. It's a rude way to. Okay, I got that one. It's very basic. The only thing that's basic is you, bitch. Okay. She does put herself in a silly spot. Yeah, this is not Rand at her best. Why the fuck is Donahue entertaining a random person in the audience for minutes? So this was how his show was working all the time. The first half would be him one-on-one, and then he'd go in the audience, and that's what he pioneered doing. And Oprah basically stole that from him, or borrowed it from, whatever you want to put it. So that was how his show was structured every week. And it was like a good way to be like, oh, this is like social media. Instead of being able to tweet at people the same question, oh, is it going to be Kim Jong-un's sister 80 times? You would actually be able to ask them questions you otherwise wouldn't. She wasn't rude. I laughed, loved it.
Nothing impolite. You are punishing this woman for the vigor and energy.
This part she gets good.
And that's not fair to her.
This
is the kind of woman we spend a long time trying to attract to our television audience. And now you are. Okay, just for this.
teach her some manners.
Then teach her some
I
manners.
will now
Miss
repeat
Rand.
what she said.
Miss Rand.
She said, I used to agree with you, but now that I'm more educated. What does that mean?
Well, that means she now has a different view. There's nothing personal about that observation. Don't be so sensitive.
I am going to be. I intend to be.
We're in New York City with Ayn Rand, and we'll be back in just a moment.
All right, let me catch. You got to ask nicely if you're a good man. I know you didn't mean Rand, Greg. A lot of these people think everything is basic. How would she do as a mainstream show panelist? I think Rand was universally known for being a lot more charming than people realize. Like, very famously, she'd do these things at the Ford Hole Forum, and she'd like do her Ben Shapiro shtick where people come up and ask her questions really hard, and she'd fucking slam them down. She's a very, very big introvert. So when it's like one-on-one, she's usually really, really good. Like, she was on Johnny Carson, he just fell in love with her. So she did have this charm about her, and I'm sure the accent helped to some extent. But things like this, I don't think serve her well, in my view.
We're back with Ayn Rand. Yep.
Do you see any reason at all for giving social aid to people, whether welfare or if someone is disabled?
Do you see any reason for social aid, for welfare, for charity?
So this is where Rand goes full troll. So they had a commercial break. People calm down, whatever. And Rand's like, oh, no. We're not letting this go. Watch.
Only private charity, not through government and not through force, not with tax money. But I want to answer the preceding question. Doesn't anybody want to ask it politely?
Yes. Your question...
Look at the balls on this woman.
Your
Look at her
question
face.
asks this audience to agree with your assessment of the questioner, and I don't think they will. That's the problem.
All of them? Then why do they want to listen to me at all?
All right, does anybody
Oh,
want to
look, anybody?
Yes. Do you want to? All right. Hang on just a moment. Come on. You want to stand?
I'm surprised that someone with the intelligence of Miss Rand can be so emotional in her approach.
I can answer you. I didn't come here to be judged. I came here to answer questions. A question asked in the following form. I used to agree with you, but now that I'm more educated, I don't, is an insult which I cannot sanction.
All right.
I am not interested in the woman's history. She didn't have to begin it that way, and that's what I want to register my protest
How do we
against.
hang on just a moment. How do we keep ITT from developing too much power, or any multinational conglomerate in your world of
We don't give them government privileges. All monopolies, such as ITT, is sanctioned by government. It's the government that makes this field a monopoly and forbids the entrance of competitors. All the things that this lady cited as example, I had covered before by simply pointing out that the free market does not produce monopolies and never has in history. If you look at any monopoly, you'll see that it's held in power by an act of government, by government privilege. And what we have today is a mixed economy. It's not capitalism. Okay.
Ms. Rand?
Okay, wait, before we get to that, I love the woman's outfit, by the way, the strawberry. Only God can judge me. Only Judy can judge me. Your descriptions of Rand here remind me of your description of Ann Coulter, the New Right. Do you think they have similar personalities? I would say not at all. Ann Coulter is much more gregarious. She's much more of a brawler. She wouldn't react that way. She would hit her back really hard. She wouldn't expect Donahue to run around. So I don't think they are similar in that regard at all. I think Ayn Rand was Ayn Rand 24/7. I think Ann Coulter, there's a lot of times she just wants to hang out and talk shit, right? Rand really didn't have that side to her as much as Coulter does. Yeah, so ITT was too big to fail, yeah. Okay, let's watch the rest of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to say, this, not joking, what we're about to see is what I consider the greatest moment in libertarian history.
Atlas Shrugged. Isn't it true that you gave a blueprint for the world takeover by the Illuminati?
By whom?
The Illuminati.
Who's the Illuminati?
The Illuminati is the international bankers, Rothschild, the Rockefellers, and all the Bilderbergers.
But you think her philosophy then would lead to capitalist control of everything?
Her Atlas Shrugged. She gives an exact blueprint for 8 years of the world takeover, and it's in force right now.
So if Atlas Shrugged was an 8-year world takeover, it came out in 57, so by 65 it would have been implemented. The who? The Illuminati?
You accept that?
Certainly not. To begin with, I never heard of any such conspiracies. Certainly Rockefeller is hardly an example of capitalism, and what Atlas Shrugged gives you is a blueprint for how to be free. If a person feels that he'd rather be enslaved and poor, but not let anyone be successful and rich, well, that's what Atlas Shrugged is against.
I'd like to know your opinion on the United States' foreign policy and what is happening in the Middle East right now.
Right now, I'm not sure we know what's happening. I think that the United States foreign policy has been disgraceful for years, for decades. I would say roughly since the New Deal, and in part even before that. But if you mean whose side should one be on, Israel or the Arabs, I would certainly say Israel because it's the advanced, technological, civilized country amidst a group of almost totally primitive savages who have not changed for years and who are racist and who resist Israel because it's bringing industry and intelligence and modern technology into their stagnation.
So it's not the Dems that are the real racists, it's the Palestinians that are the real racists.
Miss Rand,
Over here.
Miss Rand, am I correct? Am I correct to assume that according to your philosophy that you are a perfect being?
Oh, now it's stopped. It's unsynced. I wonder if this is. Let me try it again. 3:35. Let's try this again.
To your philosophy that you
It's
are
on the
a
tape.
perfect being.
We're almost done, guys.
I never judge myself that way. I judge myself in the following way. Have I absorbed and practiced all of the principles of behavior which I preach? Then I would say yes, resoundingly.
Over here, Miss Rand. Can you see me? Over here.
Ms. Rand, at this time, are you planning or writing another book?
I'm just planning one.
Apropos your atheism, how do you account about the millions of people from the Christian religion who have validated the philosophies that God is alive?
Who validated them by what? By behaving, by doing good works, and
By the doctors of the church, arguments, by the...
I see.
No one on this fucking show knows how to speak English.
It's this man's position
Including
that
me.
you can validate the existence of God, that it's possible to do that.
It has not been done. The nearest anyone ever came to it was Thomas Aquinas, and he was a very great philosopher, but he could not prove it. Nobody has ever proved it.
In relationship to your atheism, how do you think that ITT and Xerox and General Motors...
Hold on. Do you think Rand's use of lengthy character monologues is a function of her Russian heritage? Russian literature is, in my experience, tends to have characters to go on lengthy monologues, and is something many Westerners criticize. She's very much in the 19th century tradition, which she combines with a comic book sensibility in certain things, with the pulps. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. She always talked about Victor Hugo, Victor Hugo, Victor Hugo. It is very kind of jarring. But at the same time, it's hard to integrate, such a whole new philosophy in novels.
won't overrun the world with their power. Do you believe that there is some powerful good, like 360 degrees, that always has to come back to good?
No.
What do you think is going to make them stop the monopolies or over...
Acquisition of more power.
I have already made clear, I don't believe that they're evil.
This is me today on Twitter. Oh, so who's going to take over after Kim Jong-un dies? Oh, are you going to talk about... do you know if he's dead? Just like, I've answered this at length, both on Twitter and on YouTube. Jesus fucking Christ.
B, they don't have the power to run the world. Money is not power in the political sense. You cannot buy control.
But it's power in the practical sense. I mean, if you have to pay $5 a gallon to get to work, $1.50 for a head of lettuce, your children have to eat, they have to be educated. Our system has set it up that you can only get a good education if you're willing to pay for it. So if you want us to be educated...
Not necessarily. I would support the early Americans who educated their own children. And some of the most successful men of the 19th century never went to college. And today, those who didn't go to college are more intelligent and better informed and less easily fooled than the people who did go to college.
I assume.
Why is the audience so... that when she makes that point about you're more educated if you didn't go to college, I mean, she is... Mwah, chef's kiss. Why is the audience so female? Women talking about reading Rand in high school, the Rothschild conspiracy, mothers of the alt-right. This was taped during the day. The men were at work. I'm not even kidding. This was a daytime show. I think it was live. I don't know if it was live this episode, but it was usually live at 4 o'clock. Live.
You're against compulsory education.
Right?
You're against compulsory education, aren't
Yes. No.
you? You're against compulsory education, aren't you?
Yes. No, I'm against public-funded education because that's the sure way to create a country of people disposed towards dictatorship, and that's what you're seeing today.
And we'll be back with Ayn Rand in just a moment.
He just gave a thumbs up.
We're back with so little time. Listen, there was a Miss Rand. We're with Ayn Rand. Incidentally, her latest book is titled, listen to this, Introduction of Objectivist Epistemology. I should have had this at Notre Dame. I would have impressed all the girls. But it is a rather multisyllabic, high-sounding title, which
It's not a novel.
right, which speaks to your philosophy of objectivism.
That's right.
I just have one point that I think should be made, Ms. Rand, with time fleeting here. Your characterization of the situation in the Middle East came down rather gratuitously and in a very angry way on the Arabs, and without discussing the merits of either side in a most complicated and painful collision of cultures and peoples in our world. Why couldn't the millions of men, women, and children who are Arab and who find themselves in this desperate conflict and look around wondering where peace will be, why can't they be angry with you for your characterization of them, your slap at them, your roundhouse criticism of them, when you don't seem to be able to tolerate a questioner who suggests that she disagrees with you? Characterization is you do not accept any criticism unless you level it.
No, I don't resort to terrorism. I don't go around murdering my opponents, innocent women and children. That is what I have against the Arabs. That takes the conflict out of the sphere of civilized conflict and makes it murderous. And anyone, private citizens, who resort to force is a monster. And that's what makes me condemn and despise them.
Do you believe that
I'm impressed Donahue was able to get Queen Elizabeth. Yeah.
there is going to be a day where there's going to be a female in the White House as president? And how do you feel about that?
I wouldn't vote for her.
You would or wouldn't?
Would not.
You would not.
No.
Look at Donahue.
Why not?
For many reasons.
Guys,
I've written an article about that in my former magazine. You'll have to find out my reasons there.
yeah.
The magazine is The Objective.
Would you not vote for her because she was a woman?
I love it that he's like, why not? And she goes, oh, read this article I wrote 15 years ago instead of just answering the question. She said she came here to answer questions. That's a question. Answer it. Jesus Christ.
Even if she were better qualified than any man?
If we had followed that law, I might.
That low? I think you have a very, very
I'll
low
tell you
opinion of
why.
women.
Let me answer this. It is not to a woman's personal interest to rule man. It puts her in a very unhappy position. I don't believe that any good woman would want that position.
So you are essentially against leadership positions for women then?
No. Oh, no. A president is not the only leadership position. There's senators and congressmen and...
And it's all right for you if they run and be elected?
Oh, certainly, and I vote for them. But, wait a moment, a commander-in-chief of the army, a woman, I think it's unspeakable.
We are in New York City with Ayn Rand, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I think that's about it, but hold on. Oh, they gave her a little address. You can write to her. Dear Miss Rand. She had Wuhan cough there, yeah.
We're back. Yes. Go ahead.
Miss Rand, I'd like to ask you your opinion of Golda Meir.
Oh, I never saw this end. My video didn't have this.
My opinion of Golda Meir? Oh, I think she is a very unhappy woman. She was a good leader. I don't agree with her philosophy. She's a socialist. And I think Begin is much better.
Mm-hmm. I am sorry that our time is up.
You're right. No good man wanted to
there
chief
are
either.
1,001 people with questions here that perhaps sometime in the future we'll have an opportunity to share more dialogue with you. It's been my pleasure. It's been an enlightening experience to meet the woman behind the writings that have created such a stir.
I really enjoy
Your latest book is titled Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology. Many thanks to you.
All right, guys. What happens if I close this? I hope that was fun. This was like almost 2 hours. A good way to spend a Saturday night, I think. Hopefully. There's another Rand episode. How do you think she'd do on Rogan? I don't think it would go well. I don't think it would go well at all, to be honest. He wouldn't know what to make of her. She wouldn't know what to make of him. It would just be awkward as fuck. Yeah, so jump on malice.locals.com. I'll probably do this next week. I'm gonna do another one next time, I think, with me talking to somebody else, and we can all chat together. But I hope this served the purpose of having us do something on Saturday night. I hope, and if you haven't watched it, it's just great in and of itself. So thanks for the support. I will see you on Twitter. She kill on Rogan. I'm not the victim of hippies. I mean, this is just very, very much. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to bounce then. And I wonder if I can figure out another way. Someone on my locals, if you can figure out how I can stream it directly instead of through the headphones, the speakers. But it seemed like it came out fine. And actually, I'm being stupid because Randy sent me this fancy webcam, and I'm sure the sound quality is this webcam. I'm sure it's fine. I don't need that fucking mic. So that kind of solves one problem right there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like it's like when you get a fancy camera, it's gonna have a decent mic with it. This is just very easy to do. 500 people here, so yeah. Well, I'll leave this one up for a bit. Talk soon, guys. Take care.